Good morning, VIPs. Welcome to the VIP pre-market prep at StoryTrading. It's Monday, November 28th, Cyber Monday after Black Friday. We've been talking about for the last few weeks the possibility of a pivot after Black Friday. We have been warning you about extreme volatility, which seasonally begins after Black Friday through the end of January. You can maybe call it the Black Friday pivot. One of the things that we see after Black Friday is flash crash season. All right. So you got to be prepared for that. We've been advising people to have a higher cash position going into Black Friday. So we're, right after Black Friday, or going into Thanksgiving, I'm sorry. So starting Black Friday, you're in a higher cash position, taking less risk. And look at this. This is the first day after Black Friday. We're already down 1% here in pre-market. But let's just look at the levels here on the SPY. The 200 DMA is up there at 404, 20 DMA down here at 391. So it's still kind of stuck in the middle. But if I had to be biased towards something, I'd be more concerned about the downside than the upside right now because of the history of this period being extremely volatile. It's also tax law selling may have something to do with it, may have something to do with people moving money around at the end of the year. Whatever factors is involved, this has been, at least, especially in the last few years, it's been pretty reliably terrible between Black Friday and the end of the year, and continued volatility into January. So, we were looking out for that. It looks like perhaps it's hitting us here this morning. Now, the storyline that people are talking about is these China protests. China protests breaking out because of the COVID lockdowns. Now, to me, that's actually not new. That was happening last week before we. So why are we down this morning? I think it's really, and even the Apple story, right? Like Apple down 2%. We talked about that on this show last week. We had told you that there was their facility was being shut down because of protests and things like that. That was already happening last week. So this is not new. It's a continuation of what was happening last week. So I really kind of see this as through the idea that, people are looking at the news through this new lens of us being after Black Friday, right? It's just an excuse, basically, right? This volatility was going to happen anyway, and now they're blaming it on what's happening in China. That's how I look at it. And you can also see the impact of that in oil. People are saying, oh, China's having all these lockdowns, so that means demand for oil energy is going to be less in China, and that's why oil is down 3.2% and XLE is down 2.6%. So that's the storyline. But from my perspective, they would have found any storyline, any little thing to cause crazy volatility in this period, especially because we're near the top of this resistance level on SPY at 405. Okay, that being said, it's always possible, right? We talk about QQQ has much higher resistance levels, 293 and then 306. So you got to be open-minded about both the upside and the downside. And, I think the way to play it is simply, as I said last week, being in a higher cash position, taking less risk, less margin, less options, right? That's the way to play this season and being a little bit more selective what you're in. So let's take a look at Apple for a second, because that's driving the markets down this morning more than anything. I think down 2%. It's below right now this morning, gapping below all the key moving averages. That's important. That's pretty bearish, right? When you're dropping below all the key moving averages, you can see last time that happened, Apple continued to go down for 4 more days to that 135 level. So that is definitely something I'm worried about. Now, let's get into some specific. Oh, let me just also talk about TLT. TLT, you can see we had called that change in behavior, and it's continuing to behave this way. The TLT is now actually inverse to the markets. It's acting as a hedge to the market, back to the the thesis we talked about, right? TLT used to be a proxy for risk. As it went up, that means interest rates were going to go down. You can see that with UUP down this morning, and that was good for risk assets. But now what's happening is TLT is up because of recession concerns, okay? So just keep that sentiment in mind. And as we go and get new data in the next few weeks, economic data, Powell is speaking this Wednesday. We have CPI and FOMC next week. So know what people are expecting today, right? Today, the worry is we're not so worried about inflation and interest rates. We're worried about recession. So if something comes in as a surprise, like, oh, inflation gets popped up again, or interest rates are going to go much higher again, that could be a reason for a sell-off. And if economic data keeps coming in good news is good news in this case, right? And if economic news is bad news is bad news in this case, right? It's the inverse of what we're seeing in the prior period a few months ago, when good news is bad news and bad news was good news. We're past the interest rate stuff for now. Let's see if Powell brings it back into the play on Wednesday. So now going forward to some individual stocks. After Black Friday, we're looking at retail. We had played some retail stocks last week, especially Dick's, right? Dick's, we played really well. We had good result on Dick's after a great earnings report. You saw that big move here from 106 to 120, and you can see here Shopify is up 6%. There's nothing in the news feed, but I saw a report on an article, I think it was on Bloomberg or something. I don't know where the news came from, but Shopify had Black Friday sales up 17% year over year, and I believe that's why you're seeing the pop in Shopify. I wouldn't chase this personally. RSI relatively low. Your target, if you are going to play it, is at 200 DMA at 41. The reason I wouldn't necessarily chase this is because this isn't so surprising to me. Shopify has been growing very fast. I don't know what their growth numbers were, but probably I would think it's in the double digits, at least in the 10 to 20% range. So you would expect that they're getting market share from like Amazon, for example, and they're growing 17% this year. To me, that doesn't seem like a huge surprise, but that does seem to be what's driving the pre-market. But that's my reason for not playing Shopify. Now, it's all about expectations. I don't know Shopify well enough, so I can't be really accurate on a prediction here in terms of what the market was expecting with your sales, but that's the reason why Shopify is up. Now, that's important because it's showing you in pre-market that individual retail stocks can still do good today or this week, right? We talked about that the play in retail is usually up to Thanksgiving or Black Friday, and then it's a sell-off. It's kind of buy the rumor, sell the news of, the excitement of, people buy that ahead of time and they sell it when the actual data comes out. But what we're seeing in Shopify tells you that there could be room for further movements up, for example, in Dick's. If we get good data coming out of Dick's, I don't know if they give same-store sales numbers or whatever, but I'm hoping that happens. I held Dick's over the weekend because of the break of 120 resistance, and I'm looking for 130 with a very high short position and a very good earnings report, 22% short, very good earnings report, a bunch of upgrades with 130 to 140 targets. So I'm still holding this. To be honest with you, I'm a little worried about it now because the market has turned, but Shopify gives me hope. Shopify tells me if we get good data out of Dick's, this can go to that 130 target I'm looking at. And look, Amazon is up. I don't know the story behind Amazon, Walmart, Target. I haven't seen the specific numbers, but this is something I want to keep an eye on, this whole retail sector this morning, and see if any trade opportunities arise during the day. Talk. I've been holding Talk for a while. This was a digital kind of health play, kind of a pair trade a little bit with DAIO, because I had some rumors and some speculation that Talk can also be involved with this Aetna DAIO deal that has never been announced yet. So I'm down on this pretty significantly. I bought it months ago, and it's been down. I took the opportunity this morning to take, I ended up taking like 80% of my trading shares off the table because this was huge for me. Even though it's a loss, I've now limited my losses significantly. I sold this between 84 and 89 cents, but I will be looking at this for support levels. The rumor here is that Talk can be bought out. There's a $1.50 is the rumor. That Humana, I think it is. I don't know if it was Humana, but one of them. I put the link. I think I put the link in the room. There's some sort of healthcare company wants to buy them, or maybe it was Athena. I don't know. But for $1.50, the stock's at 81. So if that materializes, obviously there's another 100% to go from here. So possibly this is something I'd pick up at technical supports throughout the day. You can see the 20 DMA here at 71 cents. You can see this 200 moving average moving up, and I'll monitor that, in regular hours, and maybe there's a pickup there, especially because I did sell before between 84 and 89 cents. I might kind of reload at a lower price here and try for another trade today on Talk. CANO I picked up last week, and I held it over the weekend. This was another M&A target that's just been terrible. Down. And Friday, to me, it looked like the stock was basing. Friday, some nice volume, an up day with a MACD flip, RSI relatively low. I picked this up. maybe for a move to this gap fill area at 261 with coincides with the 20 DMA. That's a nice little target. So I'm holding that. And this is a stock that could do well if the market does bad, a special situation stock if the M&A rumors come back for CANO Health. We're looking at YTRA online, which earnings are tomorrow. A little worried about going to an earnings report, but you know what? This is India. And India, I saw something over the weekend, and we all know this, that a lot of the manufacturing from China is moving to India. Man, there was a screenshot on a picture someone took on a new iPhone, and it was going around on Twitter like it said made in India now, right, instead of made in China. So maybe they'll have a good earnings report. The play here for me was the IPO and the India IPO, the India listing, and that this could, potentially go up into the $4 or $5 range when that actually IPOs. That's the play for me. I don't like the earnings are coming in the middle, but I think I'm going to take a risk with that. It's all about sizing, right? So I have a relatively small position in YTRA, and we'll see if earnings helps or hurts that stock tomorrow morning. A few other stocks before we get into, listen, I'm going to spend some time on some of these great names in a second, because going back to this kind of macro environment we're in right now with possibly, downside here, what I want to do in the next couple of weeks is focus on high quality names, look for technical supports to buy those stocks or to sell puts, right? And those stocks are right here. We'll get to them in just a second. But first, let's go to DAIO. These are a bunch of microcaps I want to go over. We did get in touch with the CEO. The CEO will be presenting to us. It's on the calendar. I don't know. It's like the second week of December. You can see that in the app. So technicals look interesting here. It's at the 200 DMA resistance, but the earnings report was really good. Could this be the next AIR? Maybe. We'll find out more. AIRG, another one. I still didn't get a position here, but I had that EV battery, EV charging station deal, multi-million deal. Could this be the next AIR? Maybe. I'd like a small position. I don't have it yet. And this one, we are trying to reach out to the CEO to find out more about that EV charging deal. He's on vacation for Thanksgiving. I got to check. Maybe he'll be back today. We'll check on that, and maybe we'll get on. I'll get more information on the importance of that deal over at AIRG. CTMX, I did sell half my trading shares. Didn't reach my target. Looked like it was turning over, but I really like everything here. I like all the 4 pillars on this. We talked about it. Sentiment, catalyst, technicals, fundamentals with the deal with the Regeneron. And you see the 2200, 2050 bullish cross forming. This is something that, I did make a good profit on this. So I'd like to reload this at technical support. So I'll be looking at CTMX for a reload if the market continues here to decline. XXII had a good pre-market. And this one, I got this. No, I'm sorry. It's not XXII I was talking about. GOEV. We'll get back. So GOEV had a good pre-market here. And I'm like kicking myself because I called it last week. I'm like, you just want to hold this for extended hours, sell before the open on Friday. That was the move. I didn't do it. I hung on and ended up taking a good trade from like 117 to like 128. And maybe I just barely broke even. I may have taken a loss. I didn't do an accounting of that. So that was my fault for not even listening to my own advice on GOEV. And the story here is, retail loves this, but the institutions don't like this yet because they have to raise money. So the institution's selling it during the day and retail buying it extended hours, and also an ATM running. And this is happening despite the insider buy. Now, could the insider buy, overtake all of that? Is there something else going on behind the scenes? People are closer to the company trying to understand why the CEO bought like $10, $11 million worth of stock the other week. Is that going to be enough to put a bottom into the stock? Maybe, but I'm really not willing to take a big position until I see a huge financing deal of like hundreds of millions of dollars. When I see that hit the wires one day, I'll be loading into GOEV, and I'll miss some of the upside, but that's fine. I want to reduce my risk on that stock. Want to mention ATVI because we mentioned this last week with the FTC apparently looking to sue to block the deal with Microsoft. And I told you that, when you have something like this, you have a change in the investor makeup. And when you have the change in the investor makeup, you're basically losing merger R players, and now you're getting fundamental buyers. And the earnings were good this last quarter. So that can bring an opportunity. I'd suggested that perhaps, that would be the low there Friday morning, and it ended up, at least for the day and for today, being true. So I did not play ATVI, and you also had the technical supports I told you about Friday morning. I didn't play it, but it's so far that turned out to be true. And there was another upgrade this morning, a $95 price target. Who was that from? 95 price target this morning. I don't see it here. I saw it this morning somewhere. 1128. Oh, there it is. Morgan Stanley. So Morgan Stanley came out with a $95 price target this morning. So that may be something to look into. A couple other stocks. Lantheus Holdings with an approval of some sort of drug in China. I don't know this stock well. If you know it, let us know. It made it onto my list because apparently it's a good company, right? This list of 300 stocks is crowdsourced in the community. Someone must have mentioned it at some point in our community, or maybe I got it from Twitter and I vetted it a little bit. They're profitable. I think it's 39 PE, and I think they're growing pretty quick. And they have this approval this morning. I don't know enough about it to play it. So if you know LNTH, let us know what you think about that. BCRX got approval of DAIO. Was it in Israel? Yep. They got DAIO approved in Israel this morning. That could lend itself to some upside. Well, you got all these moving averages to deal with. So I don't know, 1254. And BCRX been very hard to play. Very, very, very choppy. So I don't have a good handle on that today for you, unfortunately. DSKE, I'm keeping this one close, keeping it close because of the possibility of the train strike, the railway workers strike, and that would be good for this trucking company. And the fundamentals really, really, really good on DSKE. So I actually took a position Friday because I thought the downside not too bad with the fundamentals really great, and then buying 28% of the shares from the prior founder, really decreasing that float. So did take a risk, a small position on that. And in case news hits of a railway strike or whatever, I'll buy more. So that's DSKE, keep it close. CTLP, I played this for that swing trade to 350. Out of the trading shares, still on the IRA shares, and this technical setup still looks very good. It looks like it really wants to break out, but you know what? Maybe I'll wait for a breakout to get back in at this point. 50 DMA right there. It's being squeezed by the 20 and the 50. It's going to have to go in a certain direction soon and possibly in a big way. So keep CTLP close. I may want to play that with a breakout on volume over the 50 DMA with a $4 target on that. Was it $4? I thought from memory. Let me check. Let's see. There's a lot of congestion in here, but we'll have to play it by ear. But you can see the 200 DMA all the way at 5, but it could definitely make a move if it breaks that 50 DMA on volume. Now to these real high quality stocks that in a down market, which we could be getting in the next 2 to 3 weeks. These are the stocks you want to monitor. You want to pick them up on pullbacks at support levels. You want to maybe sell puts on them. PLAB, Mobileye, Tesla, RELL, Air, Celsius, Clearfield, BTU, Deere, ADM, TSM, all of those stocks, really, really good stocks. That's going to be on the top of my list to watch for pullbacks, especially PLAB, because they have earnings, I think next week. Actually, it might come any day. I don't see a press release on when it is, PLAB, but I saw an estimate that it's next week. But they also did report last quarter on August 30th. So if you do 3 months later, that's November 30th. That's this Wednesday. So I'm not sure. It could be this Wednesday or it could be next week based on, what was that one from? TD? It wasn't TD. It was maybe Fidelity. On my Fidelity, they had an estimate for next week. So PLAB earnings coming up. And this one, I feel like this is an error. I feel like it's a RELL in terms of their growth and their profitability. I feel like this stock could easily be at its 52-week highs, but it's not yet. And maybe that's because they haven't reported yet. So this is something I may be willing to add this week as a risk going into earnings with leaving some cash on the table in case they really beat. Then I'll buy after they beat, right, as well. So that's something I'm looking at. The earnings report last quarter was great. And it went down, I think, on not a great reason because their guidance was still strong. It went down on general macroeconomic guidance for the industry. That's why it went down. Everything was perfect. And then some analyst asked them a question or something. And they're like, yeah, we think this might be near the top of the cycle. And I don't know, for the industry. But it really took a hit, and I lost a lot of money on that day. Unfortunately, with this big red candle, I just didn't think it would go down that big on that comment from the conference call, but it did. So in any case, I wouldn't be surprised if they continue to have an amazing quarter, blowout this quarter, and that can cause it to spike. So PLAB is something I definitely want to have exposure to going into earnings. And all these other great stocks we've been talking about, Mobileye and Tesla recently. When I can't believe I'm into Tesla now. Wow, I don't own it today, but man, I'm actually interested in paying attention and buying the supports. It's starting to get into a value range for me. And you see the 200-day moving average here at 163. That was the reason we combined that with that catalyst, and we said, boom, and the sentiment change more than anything with that bearish analyst from Citigroup going bullish. That was huge. I think that might be enough to put a floor in the stock. I really do. We're at 179 here. So I think Tesla, you might be able to buy pullbacks on this stock, even though it's fundamentally overvalued, right? All right, then we got RELL with new all-time highs last week. That's just crazy, right? I've just been holding this. It's like maybe 3%, 3 to 5% of my account. Is it 5? I don't know. Something like that. And, I just love the story here and the fundamentals and the growth and the sector and the sentiment. Everything's just perfect. I don't really see this. Like, I'm not dying to sell this because the RSI is 71. If it was like 90 or in the 80s, or so look at this. See the previous, it was in the 80s, low 80s. I don't know. So I'm just holding this right now. But another high quality company. Let's see what's up with AIR. I'm still holding AIR. Again, another like 3 to 5% position for me. I haven't sold any in a long time here. I've been holding this entire move up. I really don't see any compelling reason to sell this. It can probably pull back to the 20 DMA. I'm not going to get ahead of it. When I see it roll over, we called the last sell-off right there. We timed this one perfectly. So I'll let you know if I see something. But this is a stock I believe is going to be in the 30s after they announce the second big customer, which will be coming at some point. Oh man, Clearfield, we just killed it. I think pretty much everyone in the community sold this at this point. The trading shares, in the one all the way up through the 130s. 136-ish was my target. I sold the last of my trading shares at like 134 on Friday. So I'd definitely like to reload this stock. 126 is a support level. This is the previous resistance. So previous resistance is now going to be support. So 126 a support level. But look at these huge pullbacks he had in the past. So I looked at this pretty carefully this morning, and I think based on previous behavior, there is a chance this can go all the way back to 108. A chance. All right. I can't. The earnings are so good. I don't know. But based on the prior behaviors, that's definitely possible. But 126, I might start nibbling. I might start buying there and then continue buying on the way down, all the way down to 108. And then another one you can sell puts on Clearfield. All right, that's it. BTU, Deer, ADM. I'm hoping ADM, I still have this one as a swing. I'm hoping this one will do good in a red market here today. Deer, I really like this into the 500s. I think I bought some from my IRA last week. And these are all just great companies that we're going to be keeping an eye on to buy pullbacks. Just go like little by little, because if we pull back for like 2 straight weeks, 3 straight weeks, which is possible, right? You don't want to deploy all your capital on day one. So just be careful about that. All right, guys, lots of ideas here. I hope, look at this, talk down to 76. Interesting. I might pick some of that up right now. And with that, good luck, guys. We'll communicate in the rooms. Oh, see you at 4 p.m. I'm going to have a guest on the post-market wrap. Someone from our community. We're going to try that. Make the post-market wraps a little more interactive and talk about the trades we did for the day. So hope to see you there.